Now that we've reviewed the reports, I want to get into a little bit more detail about the matching tool. This is what we call our access database that houses all of this information. We'll go through this in more detail, but right when you open it up and you double click, the access database is going to open and a form is going to pop up. It's called the Easy Comp form. This is where we're going to do the vast majority of all of our work from. Now, however, the first time you open this file, your computer's not going to trust it. Computers are set to say, don't do anything bad, don't run anything that looks suspicious, don't do anything like that. So if you look real super close on the left-hand side here, you can see there's a yellow bar that popped up behind this form. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to close out of that form. Now we leave the access database open and we close out of that form. We're going to need to click Enable Content. And once we click that Enable Content, the form's going to pop back up. We have one more housekeeping item to do before we can actually get in and use this fully. We're going to close down the form again, and we're going to do one kind of technical but easy thing. We're going to come over here on the left-hand side where it says File. We're going to come down to Options. We're going to go over to Client Settings. And then these three things here, we're going to make sure these boxes are not clicked. We do not want to confirm any of those three things. This is basically just saying, hey, do you want me to stop you and bug you with a pop-up message when I change any records, when I delete any of the fields out of any of the tables, or when we run and do any of the queries to generate our reports? And we're going to say no to all of those three things so that it doesn't bug us. Then it's going to say we need to close and reopen to do that. So we're going to close, reopen, and now we're off to the races without being bugged by anything that it's going to try to notify us of or pop up and see. Now, as you can see, if I drag this form out of the way, that yellow bar is gone and it won't bother us again. Now let me get into a little bit about how this form works. On the top hand side, we see the very first thing to do is select the job title. Here we have pre-populated all of the data from the Metroplex survey. If you remember the matches, how we were talking about this 911 dispatch shift supervisor, let's keep looking at this example just so that we have a little bit of continuity in everything that we see. So here you can see that we have pre-populated the existing description that was, right, that supervises and coordinates public safety emergency communications. All of that information that was on the report lives here. You can see it's job number 85. And that here are all of the cities that were used in this match. Now, if we wanted to go to a different city, we just come up to the drop down up above, and we can see each individual benchmark job that exists. So if we want to go to the benchmark job of accountant, we can do that. These numbers over here are how many different comparator cities we have data for. So you can see there's some cities where we have 9 data points, some that we have 13, some that we have 15, because not every single city had every single job. So if we look at one of the ones that maybe only has 9, like an accounting supervisor, we can see that we only have 9 data points. And sometimes they're called senior accountant or accountant 3 or assistant controller, right? Everybody calls something different everywhere we go. And that's how you can look through and see the data that's made up on the other reports. You can see here is the summary of the range minimum, midpoint, and maximum that exists for this individual job, and the description as well. Now we can start to look through and to say if we wanted to add a data point in this field. So if you can see here, we're missing some of the cities, so we can come over here and we have the option to add in more data. So if we wanted to here, let's just as an example, let's say Alan. Let's just for a random instance say I only want to look at Alan's jobs. And because I notice they're missing here from this field. So let's just pick Alan for instance. Now in this field here, we can search Alan's job titles for a keyword. So if I wanted to say only show me Alan's jobs, and let's search for, there seems to be a theme of accountant. So let's search for ACC. Just in case they use an abbreviation or something like that, and we can click to run the search terms. Okay, we see that Alan has several different positions. We see that Alan has a senior accountant 2 that has no matches. So in this field here, we show how many times this comparator job has been used in our salary survey. So we can see that this senior accountant 2 at Allen has not been used. We can see the salary minimum for the senior accountant 2, the midpoint, and the maximum. Now also over here, you'll notice in this comparator job notes section, we have a summary of Alan's job description. So when I click on this zoom box down here, so you see over here is my client job notes. This is from the Metroplex survey. I can see they're a supervisor or senior accountant that provides first level daily supervision of a small staff of accountants and clerical personnel. So I can come over here to the job description that we had loaded from Alan. Let me see if this job meets that criteria. So we can come through and say, all right, senior accountant, that meets the first criteria, that they're a supervisor or senior accountant, and we can flip down through to see if they are doing those things. The purpose of this position is to participate in the assists, right? We can read the job description here from Alan and see if this meets our responsibilities and goes through that process. And I haven't read this before, so I'm not entirely sure. Let's just say, for example, that it is. Okay, so let's say, for example, I want to take this senior accountant 2 from Alan, and I want to put it onto that salary survey sheet we saw before. So I go ahead and click that yes, this checkbox here. Yes, I want to match the senior accountant 2 from Alan. I'm going to click this large button to match that job, and behind the scenes, it's going to run. Now I click my refresh calculations, and here it is from Alan. So now my senior accountant 2 for Alan is included in the data point. Now my data point is 64,451 for minimum, 82,116 for midpoint. Now if you remember those reports we had from before, if I go here and I find the Metroplex salary survey high level, let me take this high level report that we had before, and if I go to accounting supervisor, so this accounting supervisor, this is the job that we are looking at in the matching tool. Before I made that change, it was 65,045 at minimum. Now it's 64,451. So we've changed that midpoint, or that minimum, midpoint, and maximum. The value of this job out in the market has gone down since this job that we used from Alan was below the market numbers. So this brought that market number down. Now again, I don't know that this is the right job. We're just doing this as an example as we can look through this. So that's how it works. And now if we wanted to go to a different city, we could say maybe now I want to do Arlington. And I can use accountant, but this time, let's see if they have anything. Let's do accountant again. So we'll do ACC and search through Arlington. Oh, Arlington has an accounting supervisor. Now we didn't have the job descriptions pre-populated, but they're in the management and professional level. And let's take their accounting supervisor. We're going to click yes from Arlington. We want their accounting supervisor to be used on the accounting supervisor job. We're going to click that match. We're going to refresh our calculations. And now we have the accounting supervisor for Arlington included in the data set. Data set went back up a little bit higher. So we had a little bit of a lower match from Alan and a little bit of a higher match from Arlington. So we got closer back to where we were originally. And I can see how that works. This brings up some quality assurance. This brings up some questions around, do we have enough matches? Do we have enough data from the previous study? We maintained everything that was in existence from the previous Metroplex study. Maybe we need to add on to this. Maybe we need to go through and do this exercise to say, hey, we were missing this from Arlington. We were missing the accounting supervisor. And hey, we were also missing the senior accountant too from Alan. All that process can happen. We can do that, build it out, always improve, always find more information out there, and go through that if that's something the group has an interest in doing. So let me make a couple other quick notes before we move out of this section here. So let's say I wanted to search all comparators. So you can see how you can pick on an individual comparator. So if I wanted to look at just Plano, I could do that process again. Or if I click this asterisk button up here, it will give me everybody. So now I am no longer searching by an individual city. See how that says optional to put a filter on there. And now I can search for, if I did ACC again in the job titles, here is all of the jobs from the market that include that ACC term in their job title. We can see down below there's 116 of them. So we could search through and look at all of the jobs at the same time. We can see, oh, Irving has a senior accountant. Well, we used their account supervisor before. It looks like their senior accountant and their accounting supervisor are in the same salary range. We didn't have a job description for either one of those, but we had a job description for the accountant that we could look through if we wanted to do that. So that's how you search through everything. Now we also have the ability to search through job descriptions. So it works very similar to the job above. Now obviously we have to have a job description from that city in order for it to show up. So you're going to set a narrow constraint that may or may not turn up the results that you're looking for. But if we have that job description, you could search through that for, let's say, a CPA. So I want to search for the term CPA. How many job descriptions in this database have the term CPA? So we can click there to run that. It's going to take a little bit longer to run, but it went ahead and did it. And we have 32 results. So here in Allen, you see all of the mentions of CPA in the job descriptions. And we can look through and to see which one of them may fit. Frisco, we have a senior accountant. Maybe the senior accountant should be used as a match for our senior accountant from Frisco. Well, we could go through and we could read the job description from Frisco to see if that works for our senior accountant, accounting supervisor benchmark from the salary survey. So that's how you use those two boxes. This is where you'll spend the majority of your time if you're looking to go through and make those changes. Now, a couple other thoughts real quick. If you see this tab here for report options, you can click on this tab for report options and come over here, and now you have several options in front of you. Let me kind of explain what's going on here. On the left-hand side, you have standard Metroplex reports. We saw these reports already. We ran these ourselves, and you already have these two reports. These reports will not change based on any of the matches you have previously done. So if you went through that process and just updated the accounting supervisor with the data here to say I want the match from our Allen and Arlington, it will not show up on this fixed report. The reason we did that is we didn't want individual reports floating around with the Metroplex survey title on them and different data points, right? That could create confusion. But we did give you the ability to run custom reports. So if you want to run a custom report, you can come over here and run those custom reports. So the first thing you can do here is if you want, this is an optional feature, you can put your individual city into the driver's seat. So no longer will it be standard Metroplex data up top. It will be your city's job titles that go into this position. And we will be comparing your city's rates to the market going rate. So let me show you how to do that. Maybe we'll put Fort Worth in here. So we'll click this button, put Fort Worth into the driver's seat. And then we're going to click this button. Now this button here gives you a little warning. Do not click until ready. That's my way of saying as soon as you click this, we're going to remove all the standard Metroplex data from this side of the world, and we're going to put you into the driver's seat. So let's go ahead and click that because we're ready. And it's going to take a minute to run. Okay, so it just ran, and now we'll see that Fort Worth is in the driver's seat. First, right off the bat, we noticed Fort Worth is no longer in the market data set. They are now in the driver's seat. So up here, you can start to see there's now more jobs. So now I have an airport operations officer. I have an airport project coordinator. I have an airport supervisor. I have jobs in this dropdown that I did not previously have because I was only looking at Metroplex benchmarked jobs. Now I am looking at all of Fort Worth jobs up here in this dropdown. So we could now, as Fort Worth, if we wanted to, we could go say, oh, I don't want to use this match from Grand Prairie. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to change this. I'm going to use different comparators, right? Now we can start to build a custom report. Once we do that, we can then use one of these two buttons here that say, I want to run a high-level Metroplex report that's custom. So let's run a customized high-level report. So now we did and clicked that button, and up popped a custom high-level summary for Fort Worth. So it automatically put the city's name into the report, and now it's generating and it's saying for the accounting technician, here is the job title from Fort Worth, accounting technician. Here is their salary range versus the market range. So you can see for this accounting technician, the city of Fort Worth is 9% ahead of market at minimum, 12% ahead at midpoint, 14% ahead at maximum, and 22% ahead on actual salary. Again, disclaimer on these numbers here. You can start to see that these numbers sometimes in the real world don't perfectly play out. For example, the market average for an accounting technician is $33,000. You can see that that's only, $600 above minimum, and that they are showing 7 years experience for an accounting technician. So in my mind, I'm saying if somebody has 7 years experience on average in this position, they should be above midpoint, right? And you can see that that actually works out pretty closely with what we see at Fort Worth themselves doing, but the data out in the market isn't totally trustworthy for these two figures. So again, just kind of my disclaimer on average actual salary and years in position note, but you can see how that report works to give you a custom high-level summary of a record for each individual job. You want to know accountant, accounting supervisor, administrative assistant, all the data that exists out there in the market. And you can go through and look at that data. Next, you can say run a detailed Metroplex report. So this detailed custom report is going to look very similar to what we saw for the detailed report for the Metroplex survey. Now you can see we put Fort Worth's job title. So again, the city name is included in the report, very clear. There shouldn't be any confusion. Fort Worth's job title of accounting technician. Fort Worth's range minimum, 35,000, range midpoint, 44, range maximum, 53. And then we go through and repeat those calculations. Here are all of the market data that we have and the comparisons to say, how do we align to the market? Again, you can see here's the market average, 32,396 for minimum. You can see Fort Worth's average there of 35,774. And you can see the variance to market at minimum, midpoint, maximum, and average. And as a side note, I'll center these on the next versions, just format so that it looks a little cleaner. This is left justified. I'll format that. And if you're still listening to this audio, send me a note. Remind me. Let me know. Anyway, this is how you read these custom reports. You can go down through and see the individual market comparators, what those ranges were, what that data looks like, and all of the information there. And then down at the bottom, you see how your position from your city aligns to the market average. And then it just repeats. And all of this information pops up. Once it pops up, you can right-click it. If you right-click this report at the top, there is a print function. And you can right-click, print preview, right-click, print. And that will allow you to print it. You can save as, you can export it to Excel, you can export it as a PDF. You can do whatever you would like with this report. And again, be a little cautious printing it. This is 140 pages long. So again, print with caution. All of these down here are if you want to provide Excel files. So you can provide an Excel file of all of your city jobs, all of the comparator jobs, and all of the IDs to make the matches. If you get an information request, you can click this button and it'll pop up with a note to save the Excel file into your documents folder so that you can save all of those files and provide the raw Excel files that power everything behind the scenes. So I'll pause here. That was a lot of information we covered. We covered how to open this file. We covered how to work in this Easy Comp form. We covered how to put the city into the driver's seat. Remember to put your city into the driver's seat. We simply select from the drop-down tab. We'd say the city that we want, and we run that button and it puts them into the driver's seat. So let's do that again. Let's put Frisco in the driver's seat just so we have an example and another data point. Now Frisco is in the driver's seat. You see behind the scenes, Fort Worth is back in the market pool. Frisco is out of the market pool. Come over to the report options, run a detailed market report. And again, we see Frisco. Now we see that they are in the driver's seat and we can see how Frisco's ranges compare to the market ranges. And you have all of those deltas and all of those averages right at your fingertips. You can customize and do all of those things. And I will pause there. I think that is a nice summary of everything that you can do. If there's anything that I'm missing, please let me know. Contact me and we can provide more detailed instructions.